भगवते वासुदेवाय धन्वन्त्रये अमृतकलशहस्ताय सर्वामय विनाशनाय त्रैलोक्यनाथाय श्रीमहाविष्णवे नमः।
Welcome everyone. I think we can get started now. Before I think we get into the proceedings, I think firstly I would like to thank everyone for joining today. And it's a special day today. So firstly, let's just watch a quick video on that.
महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि 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 वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपतिम् महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं मारकोटिप्रकाशं शातं महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियं मूषिकावाहनमोदकप्रियं महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दितमहा।
So happy Ganesh Chaturthi to everyone. I know it's already passed for India, but at least for people in US, it's I guess we still have it on. So I think before we get into the webinar today, firstly, we really wanted to go through a testimony from Mr. Som Soni, who actually had a very serious surgery last year. And he would like to just discuss how this diet helped him out. So Som, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Hopefully everyone can see Som.
Namaskar. We are very thankful to Mr. Lalit Kapoor for guidance to become free from medicines in our life. Thanks audience for participation. I have put together few thoughts with the data to illustrate how to quickly benefit from plant-based whole food. It is amazing to see such a remarkable outcome of plant-based whole food practice in such a short time period. I have an amazing experience. I have been diabetic for more than 30 years. As a result, I had neuropathy in my feet, including shooting pains for more than 10 years. As a result, I had heart problems. I got heart surgery done, triple bypass heart surgery done on October 16 in Oakland, California. In February, I was introduced to Mr. Kapoor and he showed me plant-based whole food process. And I started on February 3rd, and I was on various medications, including glimepiride, metformin, and other statin drugs. So many medicines. And my doctor had told me that I have to take these medicines throughout your life. And that was the point which was bothering me a lot. And luckily, I got introduced to Mr. Kapoor, and I started following his uh, method. And within 3 months, I was free from medicines. So such an amazing outcome of this process. So after that, I have introduced so many people to WhatsApp programs, WhatsApp groups of Mr. Kapoor. And Mr. Kapoor is doing wonderful job in bringing this process to everybody's notice. So I am very grateful. Rather, my whole family is very grateful to Mr. Kapoor. My wife is following that, my daughter is following, and my son-in-law is following. So many people are following this process. And the key elements of this process are we take 2 glasses of water.
You were on the other line.
Guys, can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
2 glasses of warm water every morning without brushing. And you have to establish a window for eating meals. So that we can have intermittent fasting. We did that, started from 3rd February, and no meat, sugar, dairy, oil, and processed food. Introduce green leafy food 1% and fruits 1% of your body weight. In addition to that, use lentils, particularly Indian families, they are familiar with all these dals and everything. In addition to that, have a 10,000 steps walk every day. Next step, please. Now here I am showing you the results of my blood test for 2 days, which are comparing the results on the day of my surgery and the results after 18 days of my starting this plant-based whole food practice. So you can see on left-hand side are the numbers before starting the plant-based food. Okay, now next, I have another slide. Can you show this next slide, please? To make it easy, how you can rearrange your eating schedule. Before starting the plant-based food, we used to wake up 5:30 a.m. and after drinking 2 glasses of warm water, tea and 7 almonds. That was our practice for a long time period. But when we started this, we stopped drinking tea and no almonds because that was interfering in our fasting. So we stopped that and continued this thing, drinking water. And our breakfast used to be oatmeal, milk, chia seeds, and flax seeds. We took care of milk. We stopped drinking milk. And instead, we added almond powder and sesame seeds and something else. I can't see that here. Anyway, and then lunch was almost same, but we added more fruits and leafy vegetable green juice. And 6:30 was our dinner. We used to eat same type of dinner, but we had yogurt, which we have taken out and without yogurt. And also we used to eat dinner at 10 o'clock. We used to drink milk and apple, which also we stopped. So we have a window of about 7 hours, 8 hours window for our meal. So you can see the benefit of plant-based whole food procedure which Mr. Kapoor has developed, and Mr. Kapoor has done wonderful job in approaching everybody and making everybody aware of all the intricacies of the process so that everybody gets the best benefit out of it. Thank you so much. I would expect most of the people participate and take advantage of the process. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Som. So I think as you saw, right, I think Som had benefited like within just few weeks from this meal. I think a lot of folks just joined, so I would like to again welcome everyone on behalf of IIT Kanpur Silicon Valley chapter. This is Shlok, and also along with Jitesh, both of us are the co-presidents of the chapter here. I think this time for this event, we just saw a record number of registrations, and that just tells, I think, how much people care about the health these days, along with like wanting to live a medication-free life. So I was just plotting actually where all people have registered from. You can see like we are having from all over the US, including East Coast as well as Midwest. We have folks from Canada, we have from UK, Ireland, Belgium, we have from Kuwait today, and all over India, actually from Mumbai, Bengaluru, Delhi, Pune, Hyderabad, Coimbatore, I think all over, all around. That is thanks to all the Bangalore and New Delhi chapter of IDK. I think thanks a lot again for taking your time. I know it's a Sunday morning for India, so thanks for joining again. And just some of the housekeeping rules, which I think we have been mentioning in the Eventbrite reminders as well. Just please keep yourself mute during the whole event. You can try turning off your video if you're having some bandwidth issues or the video is not coming clearly. And try to make sure your name is correctly appearing on the Zoom. You can always use the rename option to change the name. And if you have any questions, hopefully everyone is familiar with the chat option in the Zoom. You can always just ask anything in there, and then just make sure it's sent to everyone or at least to me and Jitesh. So that way we will make sure that towards the end we will cover most of those. Thanks to folks who have already sent us some questions through WhatsApp or emails. So we have already included them anyway. So yeah, I think so. Let's get started. I think I would like to now introduce our guest speaker today. So if you know Mr. Lalit ji, who graduated from IIT Kanpur in 1971, and he came to UCLA for his MBA in 73. He actually has been living in US since then. I think like about 7 or so years back, he had multiple medications, right? He was taking for diabetes, hypertension, gout. And then he saw this documentary called Folks Overnight, and which I think just resonated with him and just motivated him to change his lifestyle, right? And the diet. And then some of the doctors suggested him the plant-based whole food diet. And with that, he lost almost 50 pounds and just became medication free in a very short duration. And since then, I think around 2017, I think he started his WhatsApp group with his 71 batchmates. And a lot of them actually made him get medication free as well from there. And then he thought, okay, why not help even more people? So he has been doing a lot of these courses through WhatsApp since then. Hundreds of people have already actually benefited from it. So right now, there's already one course going on, which is for ITK alumnus mostly. He's planning to start one in October 1st, and he will give some more details there. And I will also send the WhatsApp joining link. We already have a group created. I will send that out through the chat as well, and also through the Eventbrite email. So without further ado, I think I would like to call on Lalit ji and start the webinar.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. A lot of you, I think, have been in touch with me through various groups. I've gone through about 25 groups, and it was getting too much. So recently, from 1st of August, we have moved on to Facebook. And we have a Facebook group to make my health for new members who started August 1. And then we also have a few WhatsApp group going on. Fortunately, Facebook group does not have a limitation of numbers, so it makes it a lot more convenient for me to manage. We have about 3,000 members right now. So what is plant-based whole food and how I got into it? And I think in introduction you already mentioned that January 1st, 2013, I got two gifts. I got a gift of a Apple TV device, which made my screen TV into intelligent TV. That was 7.5 years ago. And my second daughter gave me a subscription to Netflix, online subscription. And on January 1st, we sat down to watch that movie, Forks Over Knives. And the rest is history. One thing led to another. And those days, if you watched a movie on Netflix, after finishing a movie, a bar used to come at the bottom, essentially saying that if you like this movie, you may like one of these also. And that's how I hooked on to Forks Over Knives, because the movie we were watching was Happy, which is a good documentary. And it led to Forks Over Knives. So the question is, why do we need so many medications in today's society? When we look around and look at you go to any wild park in the forest, all the animals are living same as they were living 1,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, surviving on their own. They don't take any medication. They don't go to any clinics, hospitals, any checkups. And they live a good life. They live the life they lived 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, more or less. But when we bring these pets home, when we bring a dog home and feed that dog the food that we buy from the market, a pet food, now your pet needs to go to a veterinarian doctor. He needs to have shots. He needs to get x-rays done. Why? And a group of doctors in US have been beginning to question this, that the medical science has gone wrong in the last 100 years. When we invented a antibiotic, penicillin, everybody at that time used to suffer from infectious diseases, and penicillin did wonders. You take antibiotic pill and the infection is gone within 3 days. So somewhere along the line we developed this psyche that you take a pill, if you are ill, just take a pill and you will be fine. And when people started getting chronic illnesses like diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, they they didn't know what else to do. They were in the same frame of mind, and they said, okay, we'll give you some other pill. You know, when I used to go to doctor, I was a healthy person. I'm talking in my 30s and 40s. And every time you go to a doctor's office, you have to fill a form. And the form would ask a question, what medication are you on? And I always thought that was a silly question. Well, when I was ill, I took a medication for a week. I'm fine now. I didn't know what to write there. I had no clue that I'll reach a point in life where the doctor will say, you need to take this medication for the rest of your life. And then when at the age of 48, for the first time, my doctor said, Lalit, you have got hypertension. And I was shocked because I thought I was living a good life, a conscientious person, active, had milk because I thought milk was good for me, had eggs because I thought eggs were good for me. That's what I had been told all along. And 48, the blood pressure medication started. At the age of 50, the blood sugar medication started for diabetes. Then they added a second tablet for the diabetes. Then they said your thyroid is sluggish, so for hypothyroid, a medication was added. Then I developed some pain and gout pain in my toes, so doctor said you'll have to take gout medication. And then I used to snore heavily. My neck size had gone from 15.5 to 17.5. I was overweight. My BMI had gone to 30.5. A body mass index from 25 to 30 is considered overweight, and over 30 is considered obese. So this is where I was. I was taking 5 medications. I weighed 215 pounds at a height of 5'10.5". And then on that January 1st, when I saw that documentary, it totally resonated. It made total sense. And I just started being retired. I had all the time in the world, and I started watching more and more YouTube videos because in US, most universities now have a program where they publish their lectures on YouTube. And one by one, I was able to get off medications. In 18 months, I was off all medications. Lost 50 pounds. The others noticed it, they started asking, and the rest is history. I've been off medications for 5 years now, over 5 years. So the thing is, if we somehow could live the life we lived 10,000 years ago, or how these animals are living their life, even today, we probably can live a life disease-free, medication-free. That's the fundamental principle of this. And all they say is that you have to eat food as it was intended. Not food that has been processed, that looks different, which has been done by the food industry. Because food industry needs to increase the shelf life, so they take the fiber out of the food. They convert whole wheat into maida. Then they make cookies out of maida. They convert sugar cane into refined sugar. So the whole concept here is eat food in natural form and eat vegetarian food, no animal food, and eat food in a whole form and form as close to natural form as possible. So if you want to eat corn, to take an example, then eat corn on the cob, bhutta. That is the safest way to eat bhutta. Okay, if you have dried corn, you can make corn flour and make rotis, chapatis out of corn flour, fine. You have processed it slightly. But what industry does it processes it more and more. They convert corn into corn flakes, which Mr. Kellogg did. Kellogg, about 80 years ago, made corn chips, and he created this whole concept of that you should have breakfast. Breakfast was not a common meal. When you think about it, 10,000 years ago, we got up in the morning and went in search of food. The women and children went gathering food. The men went maybe for hunting food or finding some leftover that some other animal might have left. They brought food and then they ate food, cooked a big meal around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and had their big meal. So this whole line that breakfast is the most important meal of the day was actually created by Mr. Kellogg's secretary around 1917 or something like that, to promote cornflakes. That's the history of that line. So what we talk about essentially is we have to eliminate processed food from our diet. We have to eliminate animal food, processed food. We can go to the next slide, Shlok. Okay, this is my outline of what we're going to discuss. So we're going to discuss what I call 5 pillars of health, 5 important things for maintaining good health, and which are food, detoxification, physical activity, emotional support, spiritual balance. Those are the five pillars. It's easy to remember that there are 5 pillars of health. Then we'll talk a little bit, I'll pick up a couple of examples of chronic diseases. We don't have that much time. Maybe I'll just pick up 1 or 2. Hypertension is most common. We could talk about hypertension, or if there's time, diabetes. I do want to talk about a little bit about politics of health. How is health care delivered to us? How different industries, the food industry, pharma industry, healthcare industry, and the government, how they're playing and causing havoc in our life. We'll touch upon that. And then some final thoughts. Let's move to next slide. Okay, so these are 5 pillars of health. Of these, food and detoxification, which is related to food in a sense, when to eat and when not to eat, they account for about 75 to 80%. Everything else, physical activity, emotional support, spiritual balance, they account for about 20 to 25% of your health. So food is the 800-pound gorilla in your room. And somehow in our life, most of us don't see any connection between food and the disease we are suffering. Somebody comes and says, oh, she got diagnosed with cancer. We say, oh, how unfortunate. As if it was some luck has something to do with that. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's all in your diet and the lifestyle you lead. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so here I have, in the summary, the 12 important guidelines. I call them daily dozen for diet and lifestyle, and let's just spend some time on them. Number 1, no animal food, no milk products, no eggs. Okay, somehow we have a tendency to think that the eggs, because we are not hurting any animals and these are not fertilized eggs, they should be all right. They are not. There's enough evidence to support that egg is not healthy. Milk is not healthy. Yogurt, cheese, none of these foods are good for health. So that's item number one. Item number two, no refined or processed food, which means no oil. You can have peanuts, but not peanut oil. You can have mustard seeds, but not mustard oil. Ghee, of course, is animal food, so no ghee. You can have sugar cane as much as you feel like eating, but not sugar. Okay. So, keeping in mind that for Indians it's very difficult, I have a guideline that if you are otherwise healthy, you don't have any chronic disease, you are not on any medication, then you keep a budget of 2 teaspoons of either ghee or oil per day and 2 teaspoons of sugar maximum per day. That's your budget. That's assuming you're not on any medication, you're not trying to reverse the disease. If you are on a medication,
Lalitji, I think you got mute somehow. Can you unmute yourself?
all right. So third is you eat from all 5 food groups. Fruits, vegetables, all cereals, grains, and then all legumes and beans, and then nuts and seeds. So there is absolutely no restriction. You must eat at least 1% of your body weight in fruits every day and 1% of your body weight in vegetables every day. Of those vegetables, at least half should be green leafy vegetables. Okay, because green leafy vegetables are very rich in micronutrients, in antioxidants, in phytochemicals, flavonoids. It's very rich in nitrates, which produce nitric oxide, which helps blood flow smoothly. Nitric oxide cleans your blood vessels. So if you have a blood clog, like Som went through a open heart surgery, people go through bypass operations, they don't need to do bypass operations. If they can simply start eating green leafy vegetables immediately. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who treats Bill Clinton, he asked all his patients, including Bill Clinton, to eat 6 servings of green leafy vegetables every day. Bill Clinton was the president of the richest country in the world. So you would think he had best medical care available to him. 4 years after he leaves office, he has a triple bypass surgery. After another 2 years, they asked to put 2 more stents. Then in 2010, they wanted to do another bypass surgery. At that time, his friend, Dr. Dean Ornish, who teaches at UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, told him not to go through any bypass surgery and just follow Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn's guidelines of plant-based whole food. Bill Clinton has not had any heart event in last 10 years, 9 years. He lost about 35 pound weight and he is in good health. So eating lots of fruits and vegetables is very critical. Now we'll talk later how to do that, okay? We'll come to that. Then another nutrient that is often overlooked is omega-3. Omega-3 is available in flaxseed and walnuts and chia seeds. Gandhiji used to say, the flaxseed is called alsi in Hindi, and he used to say the day the world will learn to eat flaxseed, the diseases will go away. He used to take flaxseed every day. And I request all to take 1 tablespoon of flaxseed because they're very limited sources of omega-3. Walnuts, flaxseed, chia seed, these are 3 sources. Next item is take vitamin B12 supplement. Now, why a supplement? Plant-based whole food doctors are totally against supplement. Unfortunately, vitamin B12 is found in soil. When we drink water from rivers, that water has vitamin B12. When we drink water that we take out of a hand pump or from underground, it has vitamin B12 in it. When we walk bare feet, our feet come in contact with soil, we absorb vitamin B12. When we work in the farms with our hands, then our hands are absorbing B12. But today we drink municipality water and they chlorinate it. When they chlorinate it, the B12 is gone, it's no longer there. So that is the only supplement that plant-based whole food doctors recommend. No other food supplements, only B12. And a lot of people find by the time they turn, a lot of vegetarians, by the time they turn 45, 50, they are deficient in vitamin B12. Next item is that we need to drink a lot of water. We don't drink enough water. We must drink a lot of water, and especially in the morning, when we get up, try to take half a liter of water. During the day, an hour after every meal, so if you're taking 3 meals, then that's another 3 glasses of water. And then if you go out, every time you come back home, have another extra glass of water. What they also recommend, try to eat, when you eat more fruits and vegetables, you don't need as much water, because most of these fruits and vegetables like cucumber, watermelon, apple, kakadi, cucumber, they are like 94% water. So try to eat your water instead of drinking the water. That's better, obviously. Okay, item number 8 and 9 are, you need to narrow down your eating window. We eat from morning till night, and I'll discuss it shortly, but that is called intermittent fasting. Reducing your eating window to 8 hours or less, instead of 15, 16 hours as is the case. Number 9 is do occasionally fast. In our Indian culture, there is a fast called Ekadashi fast, which is good, but at least twice a year do extended fast, like Gandhi used to do. Fasting is not difficult. Once you start doing it, you realize how easy it is. And if you do 3 to 5 day water fast twice a year, your health will remain in excellent condition. A Nobel Prize was given in 2016 on this subject to Dr. Yoshinori, Nobel Prize in Physiology, and a Nobel Prize was given in 2018 to Dr. Honzo, who demonstrated how keeping extended fast, long-term fast, can help cure cancer and many other diseases. So that's item 8 and 9. It relates to detoxification. Item 10 is about physical activity. If you walk, if you have a step counter like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, just keep a track, and you walk 10,000 steps or more every day. I mean, I'm wearing an Apple Watch, and I will check how many steps I have done, and it's 13,000 steps. Okay. Item 11 is love your family and friends unconditionally and stay connected with them. Number 12, pray regularly. Have a positive attitude, full of gratitude. These are the 12 things that are important. Once you start doing them, your life changes very rapidly. Let's go to the next slide here, Shlok. Here are some examples of food. A lot of people ask, what should I eat? Now, what you see on the left is a sprouted moong with peanuts and pomegranate and some chopped onions and dhania and things like that. It's a meal in itself, an excellent meal. You can sprout for about 24 hours, and your body loves a meal like that. What you see in the center is just a fruit plate. You should eat. A lot of people say, how can you eat 1.5 pound, or if you weigh 90 kilo, how can you eat 900 grams of fruit? It's not difficult at all. Fruits, your body loves fruits. We evolved to be eating fruits. Initially, we evolved in dense forests. We could just jump from one tree to another and eat fruits whole day. Till, of course, sunset. After sunset, you went to sleep. Another dish here is boiled chickpeas, chole, with boiled potatoes and chutney. It's essentially like a chaat. So it's just some meal ideas. Let's go to the next one. This is what you're seeing is a burfi made out of khajur and pistachio and coconut powder. And it's delicious. It says no sugar, no cream, no milk, no oil, no ghee. And you can make many dishes. Here's an example of how much water is there. Melon is 92% water. Grapefruit, in India you get what is called chakotra or pomelo, is 92% water. Cucumber, 98% water. Okay. The strawberries are 91%. Watermelon, 91%. Tomatoes. So try to drink, instead of drinking, try to eat your water as much as possible. Okay, next slide. So this is a typical Indian vegetarian meal plan. You get up in the morning, 7 o'clock, you have a tea, a couple of cups of tea with milk and sugar and maybe some biscuits or rusk. Then 9 o'clock you have breakfast, some aloo paratha or poha or upma. There's some dahi or maybe some lemonade tea or sweet lassi in summertime. 1 o'clock you have lunch, dal, roti, rice, sabji and raita and some sweet mithai. 4:30 or 5 o'clock you have tea with or sharbat with samosas or some other snack. 8 o'clock, a lot of people who like to take alcohol or some drinks, they'll have chips or namkeen or some fried cashews or tandoori chicken or something like that. And then you have dinner like 9:30. You know, Shlok, that last portion is missing out, but that's okay. So you are eating from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. And then a lot of people also take a glass of milk before going to sleep at 11. So your last caloric meal is at 11 at night and the first meal is at 7. So you are eating for 16 hours. So 15 to 16 hours in a day we are eating. Now in this slide I am also showing that our ghee or oil consumption can be anywhere from 2 to 6 tablespoons. Sugar can be anywhere from 10 to 30 teaspoons, especially once you start taking a lot of lassi or shikanji, you know, sugar shikanji, because you put a lot of nibu, you also end up putting a lot of sugar. Or soft drinks, Coca-Cola or whatever, 7-Up, lemonade. So your calories from ghee and sugar are anywhere from 20 to 50% of your daily intake, and your calories from dairy is 10 to 20%. So when you add them, 30 to 70% of your calories are coming from these three things, which are all unhealthy, which in my diet we are saying you cannot touch them. Okay? So ghee, sugar and dairy, these three things account for anywhere from 1/3 to 2/3 of a typical Indian vegetarian meal. And that is why the Indian vegetarian meal is as unhealthy as an American non-vegetarian meal. The life expectancy of Indians is not any higher than life expectancy of Americans. Life expectancy of vegetarians is practically the same because we replace meat with milk and ghee. And milk is nothing but liquid beef, essentially, at the end of the day. Okay. So that's where the problem comes. I have two problems. Number one, all these three things that you are getting 1/3 to 2/3 of your calories have no fiber. Fiber is a very important nutrient, and it is no fiber. Oil has no fiber. Sugar has no fiber. Dairy has no fiber, zero fiber. So that's your one problem. And second problem is you are eating most of the time. That is now how we evolved. The way we evolved, we started eating late morning after we were able to go and collect some food. And then we finish our meal by sunset. In fact, Janis follow a system called Chauvihar, where they finish their evening meal by the time it is sunset. And that's a very healthy practice. So let's move, we'll talk about it next. Let's see what the next slide is. Okay. So let's talk about what are the nutrients that we need. There are three macronutrients. By macro, I mean they are the ones which give you energy. We eat for energy. Our body needs glucose. Our brain uses glucose. So these are the only three foods that provide us energy. Micronutrients, fiber is a very important nutrient, and we are very deficient in fiber. There are some other nutrients known as phytochemicals and antioxidants. They get neutralized when you cook food. They're there in raw food. They're there in fruits and vegetables. You eat cucumber, tomatoes, salad, and a lot of green leafy vegetables you can eat raw. And they all are very rich. So a typical Indian is not getting enough micronutrients. And that's a part of our problem is. So we are getting unhealthy processed food and we are not getting micronutrients. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, let's go back to the previous slide. I want to cover one more item. Yeah, previous slide. Yeah. So the question that often comes up is, how much protein do we need? So there are certain myths that we believe in. Why we believe in them? Because that's what we read in magazines and newspapers. That's what our parents told us, because that's what the doctors of our parents told them. And I will cover only 2 or 3 myths to give you some idea how wrong we are in our assessment, in our thinking as to what is healthy and what is unhealthy. We think there's one myth is that eat everything in moderation. If you eat everything in moderation, you will have no problem. That's a flawed thinking. Because when you eat everything in moderation, you will also have diseases in moderation. No, you won't need a heart transplant operation, but you will have some maybe angioplasty. You will not have to amputate your leg for diabetes, but you may have to live with medication. You may develop some neuropathy, some pain in your feet. You may develop some arthritis. You may develop some asthma. And you tend to call them that these are diseases of the old age. You know, I am now a 65-year-old. What to expect? I will have some arthritis. I will have some pain and things like that. It is totally flawed. So that's the problem with this myth. Everything in moderation means you will also have disease in moderation. you will live your years from 70 to 80, suffering from some pain here, some discomfort there, and you will simply blame that on old disease. It doesn't have to be that way, okay? People in what is known as blue zones of the world, they live to be 9,500 and active all along. There is research that shows of all the people who turned 100, at the age of 97, they were living independently without any support. Okay? So it just shows you that you're living a long life. Even you may say, I don't want to live long life. And the whole idea of what I am telling you today is not necessarily to live a long life, but to live your last 5 years of your life disease-free and active. And you will not die of any disease. You will die of old age. Now, unfortunately, your age will also get extended. So you will live last 5 years of your life not from, let us say, 75 to 80. You will probably live them from 90 to 95. Okay. So that is one myth I talked about, that everything in moderation. The second big myth is we all believe protein is very important. We need to eat protein and lots of it. That's totally wrong, totally incorrect. When a new child is born, the child doubles his weight, his or her weight, within 3 months. A 6-pound child will become 12 pounds by the end of 3rd month. So obviously the growth rate is maximum in the lifespan. And the only food they're getting is mother's milk. And mother's milk has only 5.5% protein as calories, okay? And that is what human beings need, only 5 to 6% protein. 97% of the people in civilized world, and India is part of that. Maybe we can leave aside some rural areas of India where there might be some food deficiencies still. But at least all the urban population, half of India, is eating too much protein. 97% of Americans eat too much protein. And 97% of Americans are fiber deficient. They eat too little fiber. So that's the protein myth. And people say that, okay, I mean, if you need milk, you need yogurt, because you need protein, you need eggs, you need protein. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. Okay. So that is another myth. I will, let me see anyone other. Another myth is that you need milk and dairy to have calcium. That is totally wrong, because milk and dairy actually bleaches calcium from your bone. Osteoporosis is maximum in the countries which are consuming a lot of dairy. America, Canada, Sweden, Denmark, these are 4 or 5 countries where dairy consumption is maximum, and the bone loss, and if you look at hip replacement surgeries and knee replacement, is maximum in these 4 countries. Okay. So, and when we come to micronutrients, there the problem is we tend to throw them away. We'll eat shalgam, we'll throw the leaves of shalgam away, turnip leaves, or we'll eat beetroots, but we'll throw beetroot leaves away. All these leaves are very rich in micronutrients, and they should be eaten. That's why I say that at least 0.5% of your body weight should be leafy green vegetables.
Yes, sign up for next alert. We have an alert from EGND Iron Inc.
Okay, so if you're 150 pounds, you need to have 1.5 pound of total vegetable minimum, I'm saying. Okay, so you can have 2 pound, 3 pound. I mentioned Dr. Caldwell assistant recommends 6 servings of green leafy vegetables per day to all their cardiac patients. And each serving is about 80 grams. So that's about half a kilo of green leafy vegetable, which is sarson ka saag, palak ka saag, patte gobi, and so on, you know. All right, so let's move to the next slide now. This is an example of my typical green juice, what goes into a green juice. So I talked about consuming green leafy vegetables. The question comes, how to consume them? And I strongly recommend juicing because it makes it very easy. The bitterness goes away once you put a little bit of apples and lemon and ginger. The juice actually becomes very tasty. And what you see on there is something which 2 of us would consume like every 2 days, okay? And I have not shown all the lemons in this. But there are beetroots here, there's lauki, there's chard, arugula, and kale. So there are 3 green leafy vegetables. There's also lettuce is there, cucumber is there, beetroots are there, ginger and raw turmeric is there. And so you know, there are different recipes, but juicing is a good way. And I urge all my members to get a juicer as soon as possible and start drinking 3 glasses of juice per day. About 20 minutes before every meal, before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. So to make a change, green juicing is a good way to implement eating of green leafy vegetables. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so having talked about food, the second pillar of health is detoxification. Of course, we do some detoxification by virtue of going to toilet, taking a shower every day. Some of these things are very good. But what some people in India already do, water therapy. Water therapy is trying to drink half a liter or more of water, warm water, first thing in the morning. And that is very good for you, very good for your health, okay? Walking is a detoxification technique because we have the lymphatic system in our body. Now our blood system has a pump, which is our heart, but our lymphatic system, the role of lymphatic system is to remove the waste material from every cell. And a lymphatic system does not have a pump. It moves when your body moves. So we have lymph nodes in our underarms and where our legs connect to our body. And the movement, when we walk, we move our arms, we move our legs, and it makes the lymphatic fluids flow and helps with detoxification. There is a technique called colon irrigation, which some of the health spas do, which is a good practice. There are kriyas in yoga called Shat Karma. One kriya you all are probably familiar with because Kapal Bhati is actually, we call it as pranayam, but it is not really pranayam. It is a kriya and it is a good detoxification kriya. Doing yoga asanas is also helps in detoxification of our glands. When you enter into poses such as Shirshasana, headstand, or Sarvangasana. Shirshasana and Sarvangasana, when you're totally inverted, are king and queen of all the yogas. So even if you just do that 10 minutes a day, you are going to achieve a tremendous benefit out of it. Pranayam is good and meditation is good. So these are all, and then when we talk in detail, we go into detail of these things. But of these, one I will discuss, and that is, we'll go to the next, the fasting issue. Okay, so this is a typical eating window. You see how many hours from morning till night we are eating. 15 hours is with the maximum number of people. So about 33% of the people, 1/3 of the people have a eating window of 15 hours. Then a lot of people have 14 and 13-hour windows. Okay, some people have 16-hour window. What I'm talking here, what Jainis do as Chauvihar, what the 2016 Nobel Prize was given, they say that you must reduce your eating window to 8 hours. That means for 16 hours, there is no food going into your stomach. Okay. Now, you can pick your 8 hours. You can make it from 11 in the morning till 7 at night, finish your dinner by 7, or you can make it from 10 in the morning till 6. I know for those who are living in India, it's a very different concept. How can you have dinner at 6 o'clock? That's the time for evening snack. When we come back from office, we are very hungry. And we eat some samosas or tikki and chai or lassi or something or cold coffee. That should have been your dinner and last meal of the day. That is how Jainis used to live. And that is what I am recommending. That's what the Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Yoshinori, recommends. Why to do that is a little more detailed subject. I discussed that in my health groups. I think today we will not be able to cover that. But there is a process called autophagy, where your body eats its own dead cells, its own spent protein, and that autophagy kicks in. Also, a process by which you burn fat instead of sugar from your body, which is known as ketosis. So after about fasting for 12-13 hours, body goes into a mode of burning fat instead of burning sugar. And it is called ketone bodies. It's very healthy when your brain gets, when your hypothalamus in your brain, pituitary gland and hypothalamus suddenly sees that I'm no longer getting glucose, I'm now getting ketone bodies. It realizes that there's a shortage of food, and it sends a signal, a chemical signal to the rest of your body. It increases your metabolic rate. If typically it costs you 100 calories to walk a mile, when you go into a ketosis mode, you spend 110 calories to walk a mile. So your expenditure of calorie goes up. And for the same activity in a day, you start losing weight. And that's the beauty of it is, okay. So the term they have given it is intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding. But that's the goal we are talking about, is that you should try to restrict. You can do it slowly. So if you skip, like Som in his example, he was taking almonds first thing in the morning. I don't know, I see a lot of Indians doing that. There's something magical about 5 or 7 almonds. And they take it at 7 in the morning. So he was breaking his fasting window early, because his breakfast time was still 10 o'clock or whatever. So you're increasing your fasting window by 3 hours. If you were just to skip your morning tea or take it without milk and sugar, and don't take those rusk with it. So just have black tea, or you can have Kashmiri kawa or Darjeeling tea with lemon, something like that. Okay, you're increasing your fasting window. And in the night time, that if you just give up that one habit of having milk before going to sleep, and that's why instead of having milk at 11 o'clock at night, if your meal had finished by 9 o'clock, you save 2 hours there. So just by these 2 actions alone, you can reduce your eating window from 15 hours to like 11 hours, 10 hours. and then work on it every couple of weeks, narrow it down more, and bring it down to 8 hours. We maintain a eating window of 6 hours. So our first meal is at 12 o'clock at noon. So we eat I combine breakfast and lunch into a single meal, and that is at 12 o'clock. And it starts with a green glass of juice, then another about half a kilo of fruits, and then whatever oatmeal or other idli or things like that. Okay, whatever meal is. Okay, let's see what is the next slide. Okay, so here is a way of maintaining your intermittent fasting score. If you take your fasting window, whether it is 11 hours or 12 or 16 hours, which the goal is, and you add it for the whole week, the second thing you want to do is you want to do your walking during that fasting window. And try to walk your 10,000 steps, that's roughly 4.5 miles, or some 8 kilometers or so. So you add the score to total miles you have walked during your fasting window in a week, and total hours of fasting window you add it for 7 days. If your score is over 140, you can call yourself in grade A, grade B between 120 and 140, grade C between 100 and 120, grade D 80 to 100. So if you are suffering from a disease and you want to reverse it, you want to try to be in grade A. Grade A will be a age reversing score. Age reversing meaning disease reversing. Grade B will be maintaining your age. If in 1 year you have aged 1 year, kind of thing. You are holding your disease where it is today. It's not worsening. Grade C is when you are aging faster than the chronological age. So that's how we try to grade our diet and our fasting, which is a lifestyle, you can call it. So if you maintain that score, and I recommend that you maintain a score of above 120. Okay, let's see what we have. Is there another slide? Okay, let's talk about how chronic diseases work. When you are in the straight line portion of this curve, in the middle, your body, you misuse your body, then you eat something well, it comes back, moves up and down on that straight line. And but over many years of abuse, the body is not able to compensate. So when you are eating food which is not healthy, it causes inflammation. When that blood running in your blood vessels has some inflammatory chemicals, inflammatory nutrients. So if you ate milk is inflammatory because no fiber in milk, and all non-vegetarian foods are inflammatory. It causes inflammation. That inflammation appears like a scratch in the internal wall of your blood vessels. And your body puts some cholesterol, like a malham, ointment, to cover that scratch. So when a child, a 2-year-old child who has just been weaned off mother's milk, starts to eat on a dining table with his parents, and he has his first egg or a cow's milk or yogurt or cheese or whatever food which has inflammatory tendencies, that child's blood vessels start to get now some deposits of cholesterol, okay, and it increases over time. After Vietnam War, they did autopsy on many soldiers who were young, 18, 19, 20-year-old, and they found that their blood vessels had cholesterol deposit, even at that age, 18 to 20-year-old age. Okay, so that increases your blood pressure. So your blood pressure increases because your body knows that the effective diameter of that blood vessel has gone down, and you need to pump the same amount of blood every second. The diameter has gone down, so the pressure drop has to increase. Simple, basic IIT Kanpur engineering, okay? So we begin to see our blood pressure rise. When you have a child, his blood pressure is maybe 75 over 55, goes up to 80. By the time you are 17, 18, it's around 115 over 75. You graduate from IIT, you're 22-year-old, and your blood pressure is now maybe 120 over 80. Okay, you continue eating the food that you are eating, which we think is healthy food. Hey, how can cheese be bad? Okay, how can milk be bad? So when we have that frame of mind, we have that myth in our mind. I mean, how can Krishna be wrong? Krishna used to eat butter and milk all the time. That is in our psyche. I mean, I have the worst problem convincing people to give up milk. I mean, I have a problem with my sisters, okay? Now, how can you say that milk is bad? How can Krishna be wrong? It's impossible. But the evidence is evidence. And those who have given it up, they come back and say, Lalit, thank you. This one thing alone, because our food was good to begin with. We never had meat at our home. We knew, yes, we had ghee and milk, and we have given it up, and a tremendous change, like Som explained his situation. So that is what is happening. Your blood pressure increases, goes to 125 over 85, and 130 over 85, 135 over 85, and 140, 140 over 90, 145. And you go see a doctor around age 45 to 50, that's the first medication he will put you on. He'll say your blood pressure is high. That's the first medication I took at the age of 48. And he will insist that you need to take that medication the rest of your life. And you don't need to. In fact, people get off blood pressure medication within 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks, okay. Once you start doing that green juicing, and you're taking that nitric oxide, your vessels begin to open up, blood pressure drops, and you're off medication within 3 weeks. So let's see what is the next slide. Yeah, this is interesting one. You know, they in India, one thing good that Mr. Modi has done, he has created a ministry for Ayush, which is Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, and something else, okay? Medication field. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of our knowledge base over 1,000 years of foreign rulership over the country. Our universities were burned, Takshila and Nalanda, okay? So that science has been lost and is being misused. You see a lot of people trying to sell Ayurvedic medicine, which is fundamentally wrong, because Ayurveda's this proverb says, when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. And when diet is correct, medicine is of no need. So if you eat right, you will not need medicine. It doesn't matter whether medicine is Ayurvedic or homeopathic or allopathic or Unani. Doesn't matter. You don't need. If you follow the diet and lifestyle that I'm talking about, you will, within a year, you will be off all medications. If you follow it to a T, within 2 months, 3 months, you will be off medication. My August 1 group, already 1% is off totally on diabetic medication. The second person has reduced his insulin use to 1/3 of where it was, only on 1st of August. I know 2 people who are off blood pressure medication already, okay? So if you follow it to the T, you will be off medications very fast. If you follow it not to the T, or say, well, I don't know how to cook without oil, I'm going to reduce it, and I'm going to cut it down, then maybe you will recover in 6 months or 1 year. If you maintain a lifestyle which is between B and C, you may not improve, okay? So it all is a function of how you are complying. What is? I have another slide. Let's see. Next one. Okay. This is a guidelines. Now, one of the things. Yeah, I think looking at the time, I will have to stop. So, what it shows is that there's a lot of I haven't had time to cover the politics of health care. You know, our doctors, they follow what is taught to them. They follow what they're taught in medical college. And there is the people above them who establish these guidelines. So you see the guidelines for hypertension are established by what is called Joint National Committee. It was set up in 1977. They have met 4 or 5 times. They met in the Joint National Committee's number 6 met in 1997. That was the guideline at that time, optimal 120/80. If you cross 140/90, you are hypertension. Then in 2004, they brought them down, lower, okay? Well, when you bring these guidelines lower, you create more patients. You sell more medication. Your doctors are better off. They're seeing more patients. So there was a lot of hue and cry that those guidelines were not good. In 2014, they said, no, if you are under the age of 60 up to 140/90, you have nothing to worry about. If you're over age 60 up to 150/90, you don't need any medication. Unfortunately, our doctors are not following that. And that is related to politics. Pharma companies don't like to lose business. From pharma companies' point of view, the guidelines of 2004 were much better than guidelines of 2014. Doctors don't like higher guidelines. They don't like to lose patients. Doctors don't want patients to die, and honestly, doctors don't want patients to get cured. They want patients to remain dependent on them so that patients will come 2-3 times a year to see them. Okay? So my doctors are unhappy with me because it's been a long time since I have gone and seen the doctor. Okay. So we run into that problem. Let's go to the next slide, especially when you come to diabetes. Diabetes is a very fast growing disease in India. Every 3rd and 4th person in the affluent community is now diabetic. They don't tell you about causes of diabetes. When you go see a doctor, they'll say it's a progressive disease. It will keep getting worse and worse and worse, but I will control it by giving you medications. They'll start with 1 pill. After about 6 months to a year or 2, they'll add a second pill. Then after another couple of years, they'll say, now you need to go on insulin. Insulin doses will increase. And many of these medications have problems in other areas. They have side effects they don't want to talk about, okay? Diabetic patients also end up becoming heart patients. And a lot of heart patients or patients who are eating statin drugs for cholesterol lowering end up becoming diabetic patients. It's all recorded. The evidence is there, okay? So once you start taking one medication, you get into that loop because that medication has side effects. Within 6 months to 9 months, doctor will add a second medication. Then within a year or 2, they'll add a third medication. And by the time you turn 65, suddenly you realize you are taking 4 or 5 medications. Okay. And it's a vicious circle. Your health keeps going downhill. You know, if you lose your parent, say at the age of 75, you go to your diabetic doctor and you say, well, he was under your care for 15 years and he still died of heart attack. The diabetic doctor will say, well, he didn't die of diabetes. I kept his sugar low. So if you want to complain, go to his cardiac doctor, his heart specialist. They won't tell you that it's the diabetic medication that led to heart disease. It has been proven. Okay. It has been proven beyond doubt. My second medication, which was Avendia, was stopped because too many people were dying of heart attacks. Then they put me on a second medication called Actos. After 2 years, they also stopped because too many people were getting heart attacks. And my diabetic doctor was so sure that I must be a heart patient that he insisted that I start taking Lipitor, which is the worst drug, okay, which is a statin drug to lower cholesterol. So it's a vicious circle, and you've got to get out of it. And diabetes is one example. Once you go to a narrow eating window, diabetes is a disease of insulin insensitivity. When you lower your eating window from 16 hours to 8 hours, your insulin sensitivity increases. And that is very simple. So all in my group, diabetic patients who have been diabetic patients for 15, 20, 30 years are getting out of diabetic medication within 2 to 6 months. So I gave you an example of diabetes. If there was more time, I would have talked more. Is there another slide? Okay, so here's an example. Till 1997, the cutoff point for fasting glucose was 140. Then they came out with new guidelines and they reduced that from 140 to 126. Now, overnight, it created 1 million new patients for the doctors. So all those doctors who treated diabetes patients had now let's say a typical diabetic patient goes to the doctor every 4 months. That's 3 visits at $100 per visit. That's $300, and 1 million new patients. That's $300 million worth of increase in income to diabetic doctors in America as of that date in 1997. And more income to pharma companies because now they're giving medicine to these extra 1 million patients. So the pharma companies are interested in making these controls tighter and tighter. Doctors are interested in making these controls tighter and tighter. And of course, the government goes along with whoever has the deep pockets. The bureaucrats are looking for a good, cushy job after they retire at the age of 60, 65. And pharma companies are more than happy to hire people from Food and Drug Administration. They hire them as lobbyists to lobby for them. So we call it a revolving door policy. They leave government and they join pharma companies. And those who are in pharma companies leave pharma companies and they join government. So you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. A lot of that goes on. There's a video you should watch, a movie called Death by Medicine. 700,000 people per year die in America, North America, of medication alone, of medical care, okay. And that number is higher than people dying out of heart attack, which is half a million, 500,000. So this is just one example of what happens. Let's move to the next slide. Yeah, this is another slide where diabetes patients have been misinformed and the doctors tell them you must maintain a A1C below 7, where the research has been showing that if you maintain A1C too low, your all-cause mortality is higher. It's a U curve. Your sweet spot is around a A1C of 7.9 or 8, which is the best for your optimal health. If you are on medication, of course, if you are not on medication, you're a healthy young man, the lower the better, of course. But if you're taking medication, you have to strike a balance. Medication is hurting you, and high blood sugar is hurting you. So it's a U curve, okay? And in that U curve, maintaining A1C too low, people come to me and tell me my doctor is very good. My A1C is 6.3. I have to tell them your doctor is not good. Your doctor is killing you. Because 6.3 has the same effect when it comes to your mortality as 9.3. Okay? So this is, and in fact, American College of Physicians, which is the second largest body of doctors, released on March 6, 2018, their revised guidelines, which talk about it, that controlling diabetes excessively is not good. Many doctors are beginning to realize in the last decade that we have gone wrong somewhere and we need to correct it. And they are, similarly for blood pressure, you saw that they will revise the cutoff point upward, similarly in diabetes. But then what happens is the American Diabetes Association, they did not do that. They said, we don't follow ACP. ACP is a larger body, the larger number of doctors who have less conflict of interest. It is their opinion, okay? But diabetes doctor, if you go to your diabetes doctor, he'll simply say, either he'll say he doesn't know about it, or he'll say, yeah, but we are not guided by them, we are guided by ADA. So it's their way of holding on to crutches to support their giving you more and more drugs. And that's, so this is what politics is. Let's move to the next slide. So this is what I'm talking about, politics of food and healthcare. So how these four industries or three industries and the government are in collusion, and we, the consumer, suffer. And we believe that our doctor is God. We go to the doctor. We ask the doctor, what should I eat? The doctor has not learned nutrition. They are not taught nutrition. He doesn't know what to tell you. So if he has read an article in Time magazine, the red wine is good, he'll say, yeah, red wine is okay. Don't drink scotch, drink red wine. It is not good. Red wine is less harmful than scotch, but it is not good. Similarly, people ask me questions, say that I have started taking olive oil. Olive oil for Indians makes no sense because olive oil cannot be heated. Indians use oil to cook sabji. So olive oil is not healthy. Yes, olive oil is less unhealthy than peanut oil or sunflower oil, but doesn't mean it is healthy. Okay, yeah, eat olives. We eat mustard seeds when we are cooking sabji with our lunch or dinner. Mustard seeds are good. Peanuts are very good. Eat all seeds. Seeds are very good. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of politicking goes on, a lot of studies. Now 93% of research is funded by food industry. There is no independent research anymore in America. The universities are also being controlled by pharma industries. The governing board of universities will have executives from pharma industry, from government, from food industry, and from healthcare industry. Their interests are not aligned with consumers. So you have to learn about it. Otherwise, you will be tied up in the vicious circle, which ends up in death eventually. Okay, so I think this is the last slide. Yeah. I will end it that and we'll take questions now.
Thanks a lot, Lalit ji. I think we already have some questions from beforehand, so we'll start there. I think the first one, I think you just talked about, right? So is red wine in moderation good for health?
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell you is that just because something is less harmful than something else doesn't make it healthy. And we must avoid that. So the three best example is red wine Don't start taking red wine from tomorrow. If you're not taking it today, I say, no, I read somewhere that red wine is healthy, so from today I've started taking a glass of red wine every evening. Yeah, if you are replacing scotch with red wine, that's the improvement. But if you're not taking anything, only taking Nibu Pani in salt, and then you say from tomorrow I'm going to change my Nibu Pani that I used to take when my husband was having a scotch, I'm going to change it to red wine. Don't do that. I mean, that would be silly to do. So, and I see a lot of young women in India because saying, hey, our husbands are taking it, so we also will take it. I mean, if your husband is eating a poison, doesn't mean you also eat a poison, you know. So don't take red wine. It is not good. It is just, yes, if you are replacing a scotch and you saying, I'm going to do it slowly and give up the scotch by first going to replacing rum with red wine, that's fine. All right, let's take next question.
So the second question is,
how much water should
one drink?
Yeah. So on the water, I explained that try to have water first thing in the morning, and then you take water after your dinner, because after dinner you cannot eat fruits or vegetables. You see now your fasting window has started. So if you finish dinner, let us say by 7 o'clock, you drink water, a glass of water at 8 o'clock, and then another glass of water before going to bed. So that 2 glasses in the night time and 2-3 glasses in the morning. That is a must. That 5 glasses or roughly 1.25 liter. The rest of the water is a function of the life you are living. If you are tied up in an air-conditioned room whole day, working from home, try to eat fruits. Have watermelon, as much watermelon you want. Have more cucumbers and kakadi and mangoes and whatnot. Have a gajar, muli, shalgam. Try to eat as much of water as you can as opposed to drinking. And I have seen a lot of people are drinking too much water. It is not good for you. Okay, next.
Should we avoid salt?
No, salt should not be avoided. Salt is very important. Salt has always been important in history. In fact, there's a saying that man is not worth his salt. You know, it means because the people used to buy and sell slaves in exchange for salt. Salt was so precious. So if somebody paid, let's say, 30 pounds of salt for a slave, and that slave turned out to be not good, they'll say that slave is not worth his salt. Salt is very important. You must consume salt which is mineral salt, which we call Himalayan salt or Senda Namak or Kala Namak or rock salt, as opposed to manufactured salt, because rock salt has 60 trace minerals which are not there in manufactured salt. So our body cannot consume too much salt. As long as you're eating unprocessed food, you cannot eat too much salt. Your body will tell you. Sometimes if you add in dal salt twice, you cannot consume that dal. Even no matter how much rice you may mix into that dal. It has happened in our house once or twice happens, okay. You can't eat it. Your body cannot overeat salt. It gets satiated. By eating processed food, we have forgotten how to listen to our body. So there you have a built-in satiation mechanism which tells you when you have had enough. Unfortunately, the food companies have these PhDs hired to design food in such a way that you would keep eating more and more and more. There's a chip called Pringle, and they take pride. Their big ads say, you cannot just have one. It is true. You eat one Pringle chip, you will keep eating more and more, and you will finish the whole box, and your body will not feel satiated. But salt in the form of salt mixed in natural food, salt which is hidden in processed food, is very bad. McDonald's ice cream has more salt than you might put in your dal, but you don't realize that, okay? So that's why all processed foods are very bad, that they're very rich in salt. All right, move to the next one.
So this one is breakfast the most important meal of the day?
Yeah, it is not. I covered that. It was started by, this statement was first made in 1917 by Mr. Kellogg's secretary, who also happened to be a first dietitian. In those days, that dietitian field was just beginning. But it is a myth. It is a myth. You should try to delay your breakfast and bring your dinner early, and then your breakfast. So whether you're eating it at 9 in the morning or 11 in the morning, yes, your first meal of the day is important meal, and you should eat more, because you should eat more in the daytime, because you have a whole day ahead of you and you will use up the energy you are consuming in that diet. But if you, in your mind, is set to thinking that breakfast is what we eat before 10, and then anything that we eat between 11 to 2 is lunch, then this concept is wrong, because what I'm recommending is that you eat your combined maybe breakfast, lunch into one, and eat it at 11:30 and make that the heaviest meal. So that's the answer to this question. Next.
Should diabetics avoid certain fruits?
No. Fruits in natural form, diabetics can eat all the fruits and as much as they want. It is a myth, okay, and it's propagated. In fact, the myth that is propagated is this: eat small, frequent meals. So the diabetic doctors try to tell you that eat every 2 hours and eat little. That is very, very bad, because that means every 2 hours your body calls on a pancreas to release more insulin. As a result, you have insulin in your body beginning from 7 in the morning till 11 at night. Your body has insulin. The more insulin you have in your body, the more insulin resistant you will become. Okay? It's just like alcohol. The more alcohol you consume, the more alcohol resistant you become. If you recall the first time you had your first drink, I remember very well. I was 22-year-old, and I found myself in a situation, and to oblige my cousin's husband, I said, okay, I'll have a scotch. And then when they called, the dinner is served, after my first drink, I got up and I realized that I could not stand up straight. I said, oh my goodness, Lalit, what have you done? Because your body is very sensitive to alcohol. Now, same person after 2 years can have 2 or 3 Patiala peg, and he says, I'm fine, I can drive back home. Because body has become less sensitive to alcohol. Similarly, insulin. If there is insulin in your body from 7 in the morning till 11 at night, you will become insulin resistant or less sensitive to the insulin. So the key is to eat shorter window and have all your meals within 8 hours. If possible, within 6 hours. If you are severely diabetic, you eat only 1 meal a day. A lot of saintly people, Mahatmas, you go to Rishikesh, you meet some people, they have only 1 meal. They'll take it between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And they'll eat a lot of food, lots of vegetables, fruits, dal, chawal, rice, but then they will not eat anything. And that is of course, perfect meal. Okay. Eat low glycemic food is also a myth, because your goal is not to control the symptoms. The goal is to control the causes of a disease. The cause of diabetes is insulin resistance, less sensitivity to insulin. So if you are eating, obviously if you are eating natural foods, in natural food like potatoes and rice, the sugar in them is embedded into fibers. So when you eat natural food, they go through your body, they release sugar slowly. But following glycemic is not the correct thing. What you need to follow is called low insulin load food, not glycemic, okay, insulin. So that, and there's a difference. So for that reason, in fact, glycemic is a misleading indicator, and a lot of doctors prescribe that it should not be done. We discussed that in our group. Let's move on.
Yeah, so this question is that do genes play a role?
Yeah, genes play not as much role as a lot of people believe. Yes, the genes load the gun, but the trigger is still in your hand. That's how you need to understand. There's something called epigenetics. It's a new field. In last 2 decades, it is emerging, and they're showing that genes are the hardware in a human body, and the food we consume and how we live our life, they create the software. And so the display of genes is controlled by epigenetics, which is the food we consume, the micronutrients we consume. So they play a more important role than the role genes play. They do play some role, but not as we have been led to believe in last 5 decades. Next.
How about tea, coffee, chocolate?
Yeah, okay. So the thing with tea, coffee, and chocolate is they all have caffeine in them. And they have some good qualities. They have some phytonutrients, some antioxidants. But if you consume them without milk, cream, or sugar, so if you take tea without milk and sugar, black tea or Darjeeling tea or green tea or black coffee or black chocolate without any sugar or milk, they're good. They're good. They have some good qualities. The problem is they become addictive. So if you're going to consume them, make sure you don't develop addiction to them. So you're going to have a chocolate, maybe have a chocolate one day at 11:30 and then not the next day, or then on the Thursday just before tea time. Change the time when you take them. Don't take them every day so that you don't develop addiction. Problem in India is the tea was brought by British 170 years ago, and they made us addicted to it. So no Indian can go to toilet in the morning without tea. Okay, and then we have converted that tea to a Indian masala chai. So there's less tea and there's more milk and sugar, and the negative effects of the milk and sugar more than offset the good effect of tea. So that should be avoided. Okay, so you make the call when you want to end this. It's 10:15, but I can keep answering the question. I'll leave that to you when you want to end it, because I do want to talk about the new health group. So if anybody who is listening to this talk and would like to continue discussing it or join a group, I create a new group every 2 months, and WhatsApp has a limit of 256. So I used to take a new WhatsApp group, then numbers increase, and I had to start making 2 or 3 WhatsApp groups. So now I have groups on Facebook also. So I have 2 groups in Facebook. One is for those who have already gone through this course. I cover this course in about 2 months. And then they join that group to a continuing discussion. And then there's a new group that started on August 1st on Facebook. The group is called To Make My Health. Number 2, Make My Health. And we have about 800 members in that group. Fortunately, in a Facebook group, all the old posts are very well archived. So even if a person is joining 2-3 weeks late, they can catch up. in WhatsApp group, they cannot catch up. Whatever they have missed, they have missed. So what I'm thinking is I'll create, if anybody who is listening to this and who is not already a member can request to join to make my health group on the Facebook, and can reach out to you, Shlok, and we have created a group that will start October 1, and you can forward them the link so that they can join it, but the discussion will only start on October 1. So that's the two options. So a WhatsApp group which will start discussion October 1, or a Facebook group where one can join now and catch up by going over the posts they have missed. So that's what I would like to suggest.
Right, I think
go ahead, you can ask some more questions if you want.
Yeah, I wanted to just add a couple quick things, is that obviously all these are free of charges, right? And also it doesn't matter where you are in the world, because it's mostly through post and WhatsApp. It's not like you have to be there at some point, right, in the day. Always review the post whenever you have time, right, all across the globe. I think, yeah, so Lalitji, we can just probably stop at 10:30, so we can take...
Okay, perfect. All right. So,
I have...
So question 8 is, what is the wrong with other diet plans? So there are a lot of diet plans like keto. What's wrong with them? Lalit, I think you're muted. So can you unmute yourself?
okay. So the thing with a lot of diet plans focus on what is called portion control. They say that you eat less than what you feel like eating. Now, portion control can be done for a few weeks, a few months. You can't do portion control rest of your life. It's just not practical. You're depriving yourself. You know that it's easy to say that when eat only half a plate and then leave the half plate. When the food is tasty, you want to eat till you feel satiated. Okay, and that's where these diet plans go wrong. They help you lose weight. That's what those diet plans are, to help you lose weight, because most diet plans only focus on weight loss. Okay, and then once you have lost the weight, you go back to your eating full stomach and you gain the weight back. And that's the problem with most diet plans. What I'm talking is not a diet plan. I'm talking about you eat as much as you feel like eating, as much as you want. Okay, so there is no portion control. Only I think I'm doing is I'm changing what you eat to foods which are high nutrient density and low caloric density. So, you know, cabbage, you can eat 1 kilo of cabbage and it'll only give you about 150 calories. You can have 2 pieces of chicken McNugget, not even full plate. They're 2 pieces and that'll give you 150 calories. And you are not full. You say, hey, I just had only 2 pieces. I think their meal has 5 pieces. And when I used to eat that, 1 meal was never sufficient for me. I mean, between 2 of us, we ordered 3 meals. So that's what is wrong with many diet plans, and is that their focus on portion control, focus on weight loss. My focus is not on weight loss. Weight loss only happens among those people who are overweight. People who are underweight actually end up gaining weight. Okay, so it is not a diet plan. It is a plan to improve your health and have a higher level of energy, and reducing blood pressure, reducing blood sugar, reducing cholesterol, reducing blockages in your heart, reducing pain, asthma, pain, people who they have to take puff to walk half a mile, things like that. People have reported to me that they have stopped taking any puff. You know, Delhi air is bad. And one of my batchmates, in fact, after engineering, he became an IAS officer, BB Saxena. He said, I could never leave my home any day throughout the year in Delhi without my pump, or whatever you call those things. And he said, now I don't need it. There's hardly maybe 2 or 3 days in Delhi where I, as a precaution, will keep that, but I don't need it. Okay, so that's the difference between what we are talking and what diet plans talk about.
Is it healthy or unhealthy to make a 24-hour?
Yeah. So keeping a fast is very healthy. Keeping a fast can be, and we didn't have time. Drinking only water, tea, coffee should be avoided. All foods should be avoided, not only solid, even liquid foods. And the fast means you are not consuming any calories. It is very important. You are not consuming any calories, then only it is a fast. If you had an apple, or you had 5 almonds, or you had a cup of apple juice, your fast is broken. That is not a fast. So the fast requires that you are not consuming anything which has any calories in it. And it's a good idea to keep a weekly 24-hour fast, which is what I keep. Every Monday I fast. And so after Sunday dinner, which we finish by 6 o'clock, Monday evening we'll have dinner at 6 o'clock, both Papli and myself. And then you can extend that fast from 24-hour to 48-hour or 72-hour. Keep 2 5-day fasts in a year. Fasting becomes very easy. Once you start doing intermittent fasting, making prolonged fast becomes very easy because you're no longer addicted to food. Most of people find fasting difficult because they have addiction to food. And addiction means if you don't get that addiction, you develop withdrawal symptoms. You develop headache, you don't feel like working, don't feel like getting up, you feel miserable. The misery has nothing to do with food in your stomach or not. It has all to do with your addiction. So yes, 24-hour fast, 48-hour, 3-day, 5-day. Any fast longer than 3-day, make sure that you have somebody is under somebody's supervision. Somebody is looking after you. Don't do it alone. No, multivitamins are not needed. The only supplement one should take is vitamin B12 because we are not getting it in our water and in the soil because we are not in contact with soil. So all people on plant-based whole food program, I recommend vitamin B12, and that's the only supplement. One should not take supplements. They're harmful and they should be avoided. So there's absolutely no 2 opinions about that. Next.
So the next question is, do different color lentils have different nutrients? And should you be opting for a different, like a 9-bean soup, which has all of them? Also,
You can eat all lentils, whatever you feel like, okay? In this diet, if you want to eat moong dal, sabut moong, split moong, dhuli moong, the 3 moongs, okay? Then you have arhar dal, you have urad dal, sabut urad, dhuli urad, split urad, whatever you feel like. But try to eat as variety. Always eat everything you like and some of what you don't like, okay? So if you don't like Karela, don't eat Karela every day. You can eat Karela once in 2 weeks, okay? If you like Lauki, you eat Lauki every day. Eat potatoes every day, whatever you like. But eat everything, eat diversity. And so yes, try, we keep all the dals, but some dals get made more frequently than others. And but eat all of them and eat the ones that you like more, no problem with that. Let's move on. No, that absolutely makes no sense. Eggplants are very healthy, and you eat eggplant whenever you want and as much as you want. In fact, instead of making a bharta in which you have to use oil, you can just Take the eggplant and mash it up and add little lemon juice and spices, and it becomes an excellent bharta. And you can eat that with roti or with dal. In fact, in Kumayu Hills, they make a dish like that. And they add a couple of drops of mustard oil into it to bring flavor, okay? And eggplants is very good. All vegetables are good, so there is really no bad vegetables. So the thing to understand here is in the diet and the lifestyle plan I recommend, it cures everybody. So there is no difference. It's not like doctors that for disease A, you take medicine X, for disease B, medicine Y, for disease C, medicine Z or Z. It doesn't work that way. It's not that for thyroid you should eat Karela, and for blood pressure you should eat Loki. It doesn't work that way. The diet is the same diet for all chronic illnesses. Okay. Now, if you have some illness from birth, you have a hole in your heart, this diet will not cure you. So congenital problems, the diet is not the solution. If you have an accident and you have an acute situation, you have bleeding, don't give that guy a spinach juice. This is not the time for a spinach juice. This is the time for medical care. The doctors are very well trained in acute care, in congenital problems, and but for when it comes to chronic problems, which are caused over years of misuse, chronic problems can only be solved by changing your diet and lifestyle. You must stop hurting your body, and that is the first step. So stop what was hurting you, what was causing the problem, and then supplement what you were not taking early. And we don't eat enough raw vegetables in India. We may eat a saag once or twice a week, and when we make saag, it is full of, in fact, there's a saying, sarson ka saag, every time you reheat it, you put more ghee into it, okay? And that is not what you want to be eating. For hypothyroidism, I want to mention that doing some exercises, yoga exercises where you raise your legs above your head and shoulder, like headstand, Shishasana, shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, or Halasana, which is a plow posture, they are good. Okay, so if you can have 5 minutes to 10 minutes of a posture where your leg and body is raised above your head and shoulder, because it gushes the blood to your pituitary gland and thyroid gland, and that excess supply of blood helps and release stimulates the thyroid gland and solves the problem for the sluggishness of thyroid gland. Okay, next.
I think now I will just take just last two, I think, from the chat sessions. I think one is, what is a good milk substitute? I think that probably is...
Okay, so for milk substitute, there are lots of choices. You can make them yourself. Almond milk, you just soak some almonds in the morning, take off the skin and blend the almonds, 1 cup of almonds with 2 cups of water into a good quality blender. Almond milk is ready. Okay. You can make milk from oat. Oat milk is good. You can make milk from soya, or you can buy soya milk. You can make milk from rice. So like that, you can make milk from peanuts, and they are very good. So any of those that you like, you'll have to see which one you like more. Try any one of them. And you can also make yogurt or dahi out of those peanut milk and things like that.
Other one is, I think a lot of people in India have a lower BMI. I think you probably mentioned it earlier, like 18.5 or so. So will this diet help them as well?
So the thing is, most people who approach me, whom I meet, the problem is being overweight. Now, a healthy weight is a body mass index between 18.5 and 25 is healthy weight, okay? You can go to Google and type BMI, it will give you a calculator. Just punch in your weight and your height and it will give you your BMI. And you want to maintain a BMI between 18 and a half and 25. Now, so there are some people who are underweight. Now, in my 3,000 plus cases, I have come across only 4 cases. So that's about 1 in 1,000 whose problem is that they want to gain weight and they're not able to gain weight. The thing to understand there is you don't want to gain fat weight. Obviously, fat weight is not good. The weight you want to gain is muscle weight. Muscles only grow when you stress them, when you exercise them. So if you want to gain weight, you want to gain muscle weight, and to gain muscle weight, you must do exercise. You can do exercise freehand at your home. You can do pull-ups and push-ups and squats and sit-ups, those kind of exercises. Get some dumbbell, 5, 10 pounder or whatever, and do those exercises or join a gym, you know. And the diet that I'm talking is used by weightlifters, by bodybuilders. You should go see a documentary released last year called The Game Changer. It's a very nice documentary. It shows that historically all the fighters used to be vegan, and they ate mostly oatmeals and nuts and rice. So to gain weight, you don't need anything special. Just you don't need to exercise more, and that's the only requirement. You will gain weight automatically.
Okay, so I think one last question is that are soups okay way of taking veggies?
What?
Is soup a good way of taking veggies? You know, making a soup of vegetable instead of eating.
Soup is very good. Soup is very good. Don't make soup with butter or ghee or anything. Boil all the vegetables that you want in the soup, and you'll have to learn some recipes, but after boiling them, blend them in a blender. So they call it cream. It's not the cream, milk cream. So your cream of mushroom means blended mushroom. It just soup tastes better. And so soup is a great way of eating lots of vegetables. Salad is a great way, and then juicing. So do all three. And then when you are making rotis, you stuff them with methi, stuff them with bathua, stuff them with palak. You can make boil the palak, blend it and mix it in the dough, aate mein, so the atta becomes green. Or you can boil beetroots, chukandar, and blend them in a blender just for 15 seconds and mix it in the dough, and your rotis will be red in color. So there are many ways of doing it. You go to Google, and Google is full of, or go to YouTube and type in avocado bread or flat bread with avocado. There are a lot of recipes because avocado is rich in natural fat. So when you mix avocado into atta, into dough, and you make roti, they come out like parathas. They're gulabi in color, they're very moist, they taste great. So, you know, that's a different field altogether, how to make food tasty. But yes, soup is very good.
Great. I think thanks a lot, Lalitji. I know you have been talking for almost 2 hours or so. Thanks everyone for joining. And firstly, thanks Lalitji for a great session, I think, today. Hopefully people learned a lot. And I think as he mentioned, I think you can definitely join the WhatsApp group or the Facebook group. And there you can have a lot more discussions during his 2-month course, right? And there, I think he discusses each and every section and all the 5 pillars in a lot more details. And any other questions you may have, you can ask there as well. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining today. We did record this session, so we will try to put it on YouTube soon. And I will send the YouTube link along with the WhatsApp and Facebook links to the Eventbrite email. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Signing off.
Thank you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you.